a strong element of truth in music, and I think music can be very biographical. I can't really remember a time when there wasn't music somehow in my life. It's always been a very important part. I was born in Edinburgh. I was educated in Edinburgh. I went to St Mary's Music School in Edinburgh. And then I went on to, I did a crazy course in Manchester. I went and did 2 degrees at the same time on a course called the Joint Course between the Royal Northern College of Music and Manchester University. And it was a very, very tough course, but it was in fact a course that has resulted in me, in some ways, being the conductor that I am. I knew I wanted to do music, or I thought I wanted to do music, but I wasn't totally certain which particular avenue. So the joint course was a full degree from the university, which was very academic, quite rigorous, and at the same time I was completing my studies as a cellist at the Royal Northern College of Music, studying with Emma Ferrand and Ralph Kirschbaum, who were both huge influences on me as a cellist, and perhaps more importantly as a musician and as a conductor, because particularly, I mean, Ralph was very, very interested in really listening to the centre of the sound. I was doing more and more conducting, and the conducting guru Ilya Muzin came once and gave a masterclass, and I wasn't on the conducting programme at that time, but I waved my arms in front of the orchestra in some daft way, and he took aside the conducting tutor and said, "This boy here needs to do more conducting." So it led to the fellowship in conducting at the Royal Northern, which is again a very prestigious position, which has led to a lot of conductors have come out of the Northern and gone on to successful careers. And I did that for 2 years, which was the length of its period, and then I immediately won the Leeds conducting competition, which was incredibly fortunate. And the Leeds kind of jettisoned me into the profession and gave me opportunities, opened many doors. I mean, I think the only thing I would say about competitions is that they open doors, but you have to walk through the doors. It led to a number of engagements with some British orchestras, but actually really the big breakthrough was in the October of that year. Daniele Gatti, who was the principal conductor of the Royal Philharmonia at that time, he fell ill at very short notice, 3 days' notice, for one of their main concerts in the Barbican. And I'd already been down to see the orchestra, and they were very interested in me coming and working with them. And I got this phone call from the chief executive to say, "Okay, we have a cancellation in 3 days, do you want to do it?" It went extremely well, and subsequently became the permanent guest conductor with the RPO, and I've worked with them for the last, off and on for the last 12 years. So, but that kind of really pushed things forward. I mean, my core repertoire is really quite varied. I mean, I've always had a very eclectic choice of music, musical interest. I mean, all the sort of classic works of the repertoire I've known for 20, 30 years now. So, you know, I'm starting to feel really rather like a quite experienced listener to these pieces. I do quite a lot of Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, sort of classical period stuff. I've done a certain amount of Baroque work as well. Of course, quite a lot of 20th century stuff, particularly a lot of contemporary works. I mean, that's something I've got perfect pitch, which is a huge advantage in these sort of situations with very complicated scores. But I'm also very interested in Mahler and some nationalist composers, actually, Sibelius, Dvorak. I love Dvorak's music. I find it incredibly sort of honest music. And indeed all the sort of 20th century classics. I mean, a lot of Stravinsky I do, Shostakovich, and of course British repertoire as well. It's a fascinating process when you come to work on a score, knowing a piece already very well orally, but then actually sort of looking at it visually, and you suddenly see and hear so much more. It's the beauty of good score reading, is that it can fuel your interest and the level to which you appreciate a piece. I love the challenge of opera. The thing that I really love about it is that it's that connection with the stage. It's that drama. You're part of the drama. There's that amazing sense of actually being on stage and helping to sort of control the flow of the drama. And particularly when I've done comic operas like Figaro or Cimarosa, these pieces, it's so wonderful when you hear people laughing. Again, it's something that we don't really have on the concert platform. So opera is again, it's just a totally different discipline from concert work, but equally fascinating. There are so many different facets to a conductor. That's why it's such a difficult thing to do, because you have to be part-time psychologist, quite full-time musician, I would say. You've got to be a diplomat at times, and yet it's very important that you're very forceful, and you know, the most important thing is you know what you want. And then it's also very important that you know how to get it. If you're having to explain the whole time to orchestras, this is what I want, if you can't show it, you can't show the colour or the tempos or an atmosphere somehow, then get off the podium. The absolute bottom line is that you have to communicate something gesturally. These thousands of signals that we send out, you know, even by the twinkle of an eye, or a smile, or even the quality of a smile, can actually really change the sounds. I mean, I use my face quite a lot, but in terms of gesture, I feel, I mean, I've had a huge number of influences on my gesture. I watch dancers quite a lot. I don't dance, I'm a hopeless dancer, but I've been quite influenced by the way dancers move, and it's the ease of movement, it's the freedom of movement, and I find the older that I get, the freer I become. Another thing that's a huge influence is landscape and mountains. I love mountaineering, I'm a big fan of the mountains. They make you feel very small, and I think this is a very good thing to feel. In the grand scheme of things, it puts things in perspective. Somehow there's that incredible connection between the awesomeness of a mountain environment with that scale that you can't quite take in. It's exactly the same with music. The outdoors, for me, goes hand in glove with my music making. It's such an important element. I still believe fundamentally that I love to have a position within a community, and I think music and musicians, particularly classical musicians, need to sometimes work a bit harder to stretch out to the communities that we're based in. We respond to music, and classical music, I think, is some of the greatest music. And if I were to sum up what I would like to be thought of after I've pegged it, it would be that I was an advocate for great music, and that more people can share in it, People share in great literature, they share in great paintings, but often they have a staggering lack of knowledge in really great music. And I just think it's a facet which can enrich all our lives. What it is that defines a great performance from one that doesn't quite work, I mean, who knows? Sometimes it's just intangible. But I would certainly say that the most obvious thing to me is that energy. It's that energy that speaks to people. And if you also approach your work honestly, I think that matters as well. There's no side. You're not trying to be somebody. Just try and be yourself and be as honest a servant to the music. Allow the music to kind of pour through you. It's about truth.